If God spoke directly into your life today, what do you think he would say? Maybe I should have asked another question first. Do you think God still speaks to people today? I'm not talking about hearing an audible voice. I don't think I know anyone who has personally heard the audible voice of God speaking to them, but I know plenty of people, myself included, who do hear God speaking to us. So how does God speak to people today? The main way that God speaks to us is through the Bible. The Bible isn't just an ancient book with stories of how God spoke to people many years ago in times and cultures very different from our own. It is that, of course, but because God is living and never changes, his word, the Bible, is also living and unchanging, so that words that were spoken even thousands of years ago by God still have the power to speak right into our lives. In fact, the Bible itself says in Hebrews chapter 4 verse 12 that God's word is living and active and sharper than a two-edged sword, and it is able to discern the thoughts and intentions of the heart. Yes, God speaks very powerfully through his word, the Bible, today. So back to that first question. If God spoke directly into your life today, what do you think he would say? The past few weeks have brought seismic changes to the way we all live our lives. And we heard yesterday that this lockdown is going to continue for another few weeks at least. There is no doubt that for many, this has been a time to re-evaluate how we are living, to stop and really think about how we are living our lives up to now. I want to read you some words that God first spoke through a prophet called Haggai more than 2,500 years ago, but that I believe he is directly speaking into your life today. These words are found in Haggai chapter 1 verses 5 through to 7. Now this is what the Lord Almighty says. Give careful thought to your ways. You have planted much, but it harvested little. You eat, but never have enough. You drink, but never have your fill. You put on clothes, but are not warm. You earn wages only to put them in a purse with holes in it. This is what the Lord Almighty says. Give careful thought to your ways. Did you notice the repetition? What God is emphasizing here. Give careful thought to your ways. In other words, stop and think about your life. We don't always do this because they are usually such a whirlwind of activity, doing this and doing that, rushing here, rushing there, buying this, buying that, and on it goes. But suddenly for many people, the hurly-burly of life has come to an abrupt stop. And now we have the opportunity to hear what God is saying to us. Stop and think about your life. God is saying to you, you've been working so hard. You've been eating great food. You've been having lovely drinks. You have a wardrobe full of clothes. You've earned money. But what have you really got at the end of the day? Because let us face it, no matter how much you have, you're not satisfied because you were made for more than this. There is something essential missing from your life. No matter how much you have, whether it's money, food, drink, clothes, or anything else, it isn't quite enough because you're trying to fill a spiritual emptiness with physical things and it just doesn't work. The prophet Jeremiah used a similar expression in his Lamentations when he said, "Let us examine our ways and test them, and let us return to the Lord." This is what God is saying to you today. Don't waste this time of reevaluation. Have a long, hard look at your life and recognise that for all your activity and all the stuff that you own and the things that you do, you aren't satisfied, because we will only be satisfied when we return to the Lord. The prophet Isaiah spoke of a very similar thing in Isaiah 55. "Come, all you who are thirsty, come to the waters. And you who have no money, come, buy and eat. Come, buy wine and milk without money and without cost." Why spend money on what is not bread, and your labour on what does not satisfy? Listen to me and eat what is good, and your soul will delight in the richest of fare. This is what God is offering you today. Food for your soul. Real satisfaction in Him. It is the same thing when Jesus spoke to a Samaritan woman at a well in John chapter 4. He asked her for a drink of water, and then he said, "If you knew the gift of God and who it is that asks you for a drink, you would have asked him, and he would have given you living water." Later in the conversation, this woman asked Jesus for this living water so that she wouldn't have to keep coming to the well when she was thirsty. But Jesus wasn't talking about physical water. He was talking about himself. He, Jesus, is the living water. He is the only one who quenches our thirst for spiritual reality. Today, He is speaking to you, and He is telling you to give careful thought to your ways. Stop, think, reevaluate. Are you trying to fill the spiritual void in your life with money, food, drink, relationships, or possessions? All of these will give us a temporary feeling of satisfaction, but ultimately they can't satisfy.